Hi, I'm Amber. Welcome to my channel, Good Stuff. So this is a wall in my bedroom. These are 4 pieces of construction paper that I painted 4 words on back in 2014. Self, struggle, passion, and intent. Let's head back over to my little room. So we're back over here in my space. I wanted to actually show you those words that I painted because I did them in the summer of 2014, and this was the summer that I formally referred to as the summer I was depressed. It was also known as the summer I started writing seriously again. This is part 2 of a 3-part series that I'm doing on depression. I'm going to link the first video below in case you missed it. The theme of all 3 videos is why I now think depression why depression is or can be disguised as a spiritual awakening. As I said in the first video, follow your intuition because your journey isn't my journey. We all have different experiences. This is my experience, and it's not a substitute for any medical or professional advice. It's here to show you something different, to introduce new ideas to you. I think it's very interesting, and it's really to just keep us talking to each other about this subject. It's so important to do that. We need to take away its stigma, its power, and its shame. Alright, so those words on my wall. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that 4 years later they would take on an even greater meaning in my life. I would be shown to let go of struggle. I would continue to stop repressing passion, and I would learn to follow my passions more and more and more. I would learn to set my intentions and then learn to be open to receiving my desires. And the word self. It's hard to choose the biggest word out of the 4, but the word self is pretty huge. When I painted that word, I had no idea what it really meant, honestly, which might sound silly, but I didn't have any idea. I thought I knew, but I was still really looking outside of myself for self. I thought I was looking for something tangible, something you just go on a quest to find. I think of like the lost and found department in a store. I'm gonna find myself there. I know it sounds really, really silly, but I thought that self meant spending more time doing things just for me. Self means losing who we think we are and finding what's always been. All right, think about that for a second. Think about it, write it down. Self means losing who we think we are and finding what's always been. I'm going to come back to that. All right, so I'm going to tell you some of the story from 2014 now. In 2014, I started writing drafts of 2 different fictional stories. I'm a writer. These were 2 ideas that had been in my head for months prior, and I'd spent those months ignoring my intuition. My intuition was practically screaming at me to write, but I just did my best to push it away, and ignore it. Finally, the voice got so loud and the feeling was so strong that I couldn't put it off anymore. And you might be wondering, what is the big deal? Why didn't I want to write this stuff down? It's a good question. In part 1 of this series, I mentioned that I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. And so number 1, spending a lot of time doing something other than congregational activities, and there are a lot of them, is not really encouraged. It wasn't bad per se, but people typically in the religion don't spend a lot of time in the arts or music world, just anything that might be considered just a hobby. They're not really doing it professionally. Of course, there's exceptions. I'm not saying no witness pursues the arts professionally, but it's just not something you see a lot. Number 2, I wanted to write about love and sex. I wanted to write about people who did things that I was always told were wrong. things that were forbidden by the religion but that are an inherent part of us. Sex before marriage, oral sex, masturbation, kinky sex. I'm not going to get too far into that. It's not that kind of video. But I just wanted to give you an idea of why I was experiencing some hesitation. So finally, the dam broke. I couldn't ignore my intuition any longer. And in May of 2014, I started writing the first draft of a story after we took a trip to the Florida Keys. I actually wrote on my, I didn't do this, I do this. I wrote on the notepad of my iPhone with my index finger. That's how I've written all my stories. And I think I had the early draft of what became my novel Landslide within a week. So everything was there within me, just waiting to come out. And when it finally did, it came out fast and furiously. I would write scenes on my phone, and sometimes when I finished, I would throw the device across the room. I would have knots in my stomach, tears in my eyes, but ultimately, it was all really good. It was purging, it was cathartic, it was good stuff. I was like a butterfly emerging from its cocoon. I painted a couple of other things that summer. I'm gonna take you over to those. I'm not a painter, as you can probably tell. So, there's another word, acceptance. Again, it's taken on so much more meaning to me now, but it's just very, very important and very key. I think my soul always knew that. This is some lines from a Pearl Jam song. The song's present tense, and it's just, I don't know, that summer, I mean, it's always been one of my favorite songs, but let me come back over here on the light. That's always been one of my favorite Pearl Jam songs, and I don't know, it just spoke to me. I used a stencil and I painted those lyrics and put a picture of my daughter standing in front of a tree in the middle of it all, and I just love looking at that every day too. And I still love singing that song. So these things were also very important to me at that time to express myself. I felt that I had a voice again after years of repressing and suppressing by my own hand. I take full responsibility for this. I was the one holding myself back. So I finally felt that I could express my desires and my feelings, and it was amazing, or it is amazing. Except I still attempted to hide. Through my fiction, I kept parts of myself away from people, even people I love. I tried to keep parts of myself hidden. And I've come to realize recently that in doing this, I was actually trying to block connection, which you can't actually block connection. I made a video about this. I'm going to post that below too. It's really interesting. We try to block connection, but we can't. So trying to block connection is actually detrimental to our spirits and to our souls. It stops us from receiving love. And now I can literally feel when I'm trying to close. I've been able to tune into this so well that I can feel when I'm closed, and I know what to do to be open. And I'm going to explain in just a little bit how you can tune into this too and know when you're trying to close. And even if you think, oh, I don't do that, or I haven't experienced that, you'd be surprised, because like I said, I didn't know that I had been blocking connection, and then it just kind of it was an epiphany. And it opened up so many things for me spiritually to realize that I had been doing this. So talk about that in just a bit. Something else I did at that time was I jumped. We used to have a large outdoor trampoline, and I would go out there and just jump on that trampoline, and it just released so much of the intensity that I was feeling and so much of the emotion. I also would run for exercise. I did that, just light running, a couple times a week, and both of these activities also helped me immensely to just allow and release the things that I was feeling. So I highly recommend finding something. It can be anything. So for me, it's been writing and exercise, and who knew, even some painting. So it might even be something you've never done before that could just really be an outlet for you expressing things that you are holding in or that you're trying to block. I also did mantras in my head and sometimes in front of a mirror. It might sound a little corny, but it's really, really helpful if you just stand in front of the mirror. Just stand in front of the mirror and don't say anything at first. Just look deep into your eyes and really connect with yourself, and just give yourself permission to feel whatever it is you feel. If you want to just think it in your mind, that's fine, but do it looking into your eyes or say it out loud. I give myself permission to be depressed right now. I give myself permission to feel how I feel right now. I give myself permission to feel sad, or it's okay that I feel sad right now. It's okay that I'm upset about this. Whatever it is, just give yourself that allowance and breathe it in and let it out. Also, scripting or journaling works really well for this too. You just want to write down your feelings rather than thinking them or saying them in a mirror to yourself. You can write those things down. I jotted some of them down here in my notes. Same thing. I give myself permission to feel sad. Um, I'm not alone when I feel sad. My thoughts are not who I am. I'm just the observer of those thoughts. This is just a story I've been telling myself. And the whole idea of the scripting is just to free write, so to speak. You just want to write whatever's coming to your mind. There's no right or wrong. Just write whatever's coming. That's such a release too, and I think it's really helpful. So you're writing a new story for yourself right now. All right, I want to go back to that quote that I mentioned toward the beginning where I said, soul means losing who we think we are and finding what's always been. We're not broken, we're already whole. Everything that we need is already inside of us. It doesn't mean that we don't ask for help or we don't do things outside of ourselves. That's not what I'm saying, but what we actually need, that happiness, that love, that's what's already inside of us. And just being aware of your depression means that you're awakening. It means you know that you're not the thoughts in your head, that you are the observer of them. You are the butterfly flitting about from flower to flower in the wind, flapping your beautiful wings. And speaking of butterflies, find something in nature. Look out your car window. If you're at home, go outside, because connecting with animals and even insects, reptiles, notice that they're observing you as well. We're not just observing them, they're observing us because they think that you're beautiful. I also said I was going to talk to you about how you would know if your heart is closing. So to do that, we're going to play a game. Have you ever played the game where someone has said, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to just say the first thing that comes to mind. So what's your favorite color? What's your favorite car? You're just going to blurt out your answer. So something similar here. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, and I want you to think of someone you love. This could be someone in your life now, or it could be someone who's not an active part of your life. Just think of that person. And now what did you feel when you first thought of them? Scan your body. Where did you feel the feeling? Did you feel a tightness somewhere in your chest, in your belly, in your neck? Just think about where you felt a feeling. It might not be a tightness. Maybe you felt a flutter, a feeling of excitement, a feeling of, I don't know, there's so many, but what did you feel when you first thought of them? Because I know your brain could already be firing off a lot of thoughts about them, but what was the first instinctual feeling that rose up within you? And then another question to ask yourself is, if you feared the feeling that came up inside of you, did you feel like you had to protect yourself from that feeling? These are key, because this is how you will know if your heart's closing, because our mind works to solve problems and to analyze things. And so what happens is we feel an emotion sometimes, and our brain kicks in and the fear response is already there, because we're taught to like fight or flight. It's like, oh, I don't like this feeling, I need to get away from it, or I need to protect you from it. This is where you can change it. You can shift it right there. Because when the feeling comes up, we don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to fear it. Of course, this takes practice, and there's tools to help you to do this as well. It's not something you're going to just do instantly. But once you're aware of this, you can certainly try to integrate this into your practices. So just feel the feeling come up and give yourself permission that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Take away its power. Let your mind know it doesn't have to solve that problem. Thank you, mind. Thank you for trying to help me, but I don't need your help in solving this problem. It's okay that I feel this emotion. It's okay that I feel this right now, and then release. And I'm going to link some videos below of a woman named Amy. I've linked her in another video. She's really good at explaining how to drop resistance and how to allow and accept. I think she explains it much better than I do, but this is a tool that you can use to help you to do this. Also, meditation, surprise. In meditation, you can know if your heart is closed. I certainly have been able, I know this right away now, and strangely, for me, it's often in the morning time. At bedtime, I do like to meditate as well, but I find that my heart feels open at night after my whole day. But in the morning, I wake up and it's almost like I've turned on the news, and which I don't watch, but using that as an example, it's almost like I wake up and I'm inundated with news stories about my life. Like here, oh yeah, remember this, remember this, remember this. And again, the brain goes into that, takes a stance where it feels like it has to protect us, and really it's just closing our heart. It's not actually helping us in most instances. So I find in the morning, especially meditation, to be very, very beneficial. And like I said, it's a way for you to also know to measure if your heart's opened or closed. And the way that you can know is if you're fighting the meditation. So 95% of the time, I'm having an amazing meditative experience. Well, I should say I'm enjoying it 95% of the time. And then some of the time, I'm having amazing out of this world experiences. And then some of the time, too, I'm still really fighting the meditation. And that's really because my heart is closed. My brain doesn't want to let go of the grip that it has, the control, and let my heart lead. So just see when you start to meditate if you can feel the difference. Play with it. I think you'll be amazed at what you find out about yourself. I wanted to tell you a quick story about a newsletter that I read a couple weeks ago. The person was talking about being present and sharing a story about their dogs, and they had even had pictures of their dogs in the email newsletter. They were just saying how happy their dogs always are to see them in the morning, just wagging their tails, just so happy, so in the moment. And wouldn't it be wonderful if as humans we could be like this too? So again, connect with nature. Think about your pet or someone's pet, and just, of course, we think a lot. So it can be difficult at times, but just wouldn't it be amazing? That's what being present means, is just being like that dog. Which I know I'm not comparing us to dogs, but I think you catch my drift. And I know that for some of you, this might be completely all new information, thinking about depression being disguised as an awakening. I don't know if this story in general, you might be wondering, how does it all connect? But that's just the thing. I don't know that I would have thought that it connected prior either, and now I just see that it's two sides to the same coin. It can be, is it depression? Is it awakening? So we're able to just take the things that we're experiencing when we're depressed, and we're able to see them in a new light, and we're able to just integrate these new ideas and concepts and heal. So I hope that you found this information beneficial. There's going to be more information about this in video number 3, where I actually talk about my awakening. I'm really excited to tell you that story. All right, so, also I'm going to link a meditation it's a specific meditation called the Ho'oponopono. I hope I'm saying it right. It's Hawaiian. And I'm going to link, there's different ones you can experiment with and find what you like, but the one I'm going to link specifically explains the background on it and where it came from, because I think that's important. It's a guided meditation, it's important to know the meaning behind something so that you can see if it's something that resonates with you. And it's just also another great tool to integrate into your practice. So, all right. I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful day. And I hope you're all emerging from your cocoon and ready to fly away. All right. Good stuff.